Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here. Of course, I'm doing this video because with Star Wars Rogue One coming out, or Rogue One, a Star Wars story, whichever you prefer, with that coming out on Friday or tomorrow, because if it's got the late night showings and stuff, I wanted to immediately jump on the bandwagon a little. Of course, everyone's putting out all their Star Wars videos, and I hadn't really thought about it much. I hadn't really, I tend not to really care about putting out videos as they relate to new releases, but I do love Star Wars, and I started to actually think about a couple of things. I was like, you know what, I do actually have a few videos, really simple things, and I kind of wanted to just start with this one because I love video games so much. Although there are a million different things I could talk about with Star Wars, I figured why not go with my favorite Star Wars game, and wanting to know your favorite games, or if you don't have a specific favorite, if you got like a top 3 and it's just like I can't decide which one is my favorite or anything like that. I would love to know which games you guys love from the Star Wars universe, because there are so many of them. It's insane. I mean, we have, Knights of the Old Republic games. We have the 2 Force Unleashed games, which sadly that just didn't pan out like it was supposed to. I really would have. I wish those would have continued, because I love those games. They're really fun to play. It's just that the second one just was like 4 hours or 6 hours long, and it was just like, here's a bunch of hints, but 0 answers whatsoever. But we're having a third game, and that was pretty much that entire experience, and that just really sucks. And that's why that fell apart, and that's why they didn't get a third game. But I still enjoy those games. As far as playing them, I really enjoy them. Some of the older stuff I really like even the old arcade game. I have the Rogue Squadron demo for my GameCube, and it has like the original arcade game on it. I actually enjoy that. It's very simple. It's just lines, so you know what is what. But it's fun. It's simple, but it's fun to play. I do enjoy that game. Of course, this actually might be my favorite one. But the Star Wars arcade game that is the entire original trilogy, that's probably my favorite one. That even when I was younger, I was like, man, if I ever get like super rich, this will be the game that I buy. Like, this is the arcade game that I'll spend a ton of money on. It'll be like this, and probably all the Time Crisis games, and those will be like my 5 arcade games that I own in my house or something. But I've always loved that game. It's just insanely fun. Like, if you go through, you start in A New Hope and you actually play through it, you get to unlock all these little bonus missions that take place in between the main missions that you choose for each movie. Because the first one is the battle for the Death Star at the end of the film. So you have the Death Star battle if you choose A New Hope. Of course, if you choose Empire Strikes Back, you get the Hoth battle. And with Endor, with Return of the Jedi, you get Endor, and you're on the speeder bikes, which is my favorite part because I love the speeder bikes. But if you play from A New Hope and you go through that, you get little sequences in between. Like, I wish I could remember what it was between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, but if you go from Empire to Return of the Jedi, in between that, you actually fight against Boba Fett. Like, you play as Luke when he's dealing with Boba Fett. It lasts, a million times longer than it did in the movie where he got hit in the back with a staff. But you actually go up against Boba Fett, and it's really entertaining. I always thought that was really fun, and it has like the little, it has like the arrows to show you, like, this is where you need to move the joystick and stuff. And I always loved that. I always thought that was really cool, and unlocking those things. And then if you play through all 3 of them and you beat them all, you actually get to face off against Darth Vader at the very end of it. That's like your final special thing that you can unlock. And I always loved that. I was like, it's really cool. Like, I hate going through all of them in order because I just like to play the speeder bike portion because I love the speeder bikes. I also kind of suck at the New Hope part. I haven't played it in years, the arcade, but I always kind of sucked at the the space battle. There was just so many enemies. I was just like, alright, I kind of suck at this. Like, I can do the Hoth thing, but I was always really bad with the space battle stuff. But I always loved that. I still love it. Like, every time I go to an arcade and they have it, generally I end up playing it if I can, because it's just really fun to me. They have the new Star Wars thing. It's called like the Battle Pod. I haven't seen the actual pod version, which looks really cool. I've seen pictures of it, but I haven't seen it in person because I saw it at a movie theater once, and it even it's like, it's like Star Wars Battle Pod. I'm like, oh, that sucks, because it even has the name, and it's just a screen in a normal chair, and I was like, that really blows, because I know what that's supposed to look like. But, I haven't gotten the chance to really experience that, so I don't really know exactly, what that entails, but it looks cool. It certainly looks fun. But headed back to some of the more console-based gaming, one of the really old games that I enjoyed, which oddly enough I'm pretty sure is based off of the Phantom Menace, is actually Star Wars Jedi Power Battles, and that junk is fun. It's a co-op game. It's only up to 2 players, but it would have been cool if that had multi-tap, and you could go up to 4 players, because there are, I think, let's see, so there's Obi-Wan, I'm pretty sure Qui-Gon, Mace Windu, Plo Koon, and Adigala, if that's how you pronounce her name. Those are the 5 main characters, and then there are 3 unlockable characters. I don't know if you can unlock them just through beating it, but I use cheat codes because I found that out like way later. I was like, oh crap, there are extra characters. So you go through, you pick your character. Each character has like a specific special move. They all have like different colored lightsabers and stuff, which was really awesome to me when I was first playing, because it's like, okay, I'm used to, you know, red, blue, and green, and this game comes out, and I'm pretty sure this was before I knew that Mace Windu had a purple lightsaber, because I don't think I knew that until Clone Wars came out. But you play the game and it's like, alright, Qui-Gon has his green lightsaber, Obi-Wan has his blue lightsaber, then you have Mace Windu has a purple lightsaber, Plo Koon has a yellow lightsaber, and then Adigala is probably my favorite character because she had a lightsaber. It was basically a red lightsaber, and I always thought that was crazy. I was like, she's a Jedi, but I guess it's technically supposed to be orange, but it looked red to me. Maybe it was the old TV. But I was like, she basically has a red lightsaber, plus she used hers upside down. So everyone else is doing it normal where they hold it and it's, you know, facing up. But she always held it with one hand and it was always upside down. And I was like, I've never seen that before in Star Wars. And that's why I loved using her character, because it was just so interesting to watch that. But it was a fun game. Like I said, it's kind of based off of Phantom Menace, but not really, because you follow the points, because you start off on the ship from the movie, from Phantom Menace, where they fight the droids and stuff. So you do that, and then you skip over all the Gungan stuff, which I think a lot of people might appreciate. So you skip over all of that. You go, I can't remember the exact course of all the levels, but you start off on the ship. I know you end up in Coruscant, but you fight like a random assassin dude or something like that. So a bunch of random stuff. It's like, you know, you go to the locations from the movie, and you just barely follow the plot line, because the only reason you go to Tatooine is so that you can basically get Anakin. So it's like, alright, there's elements of this that show up, because you fight Darth Maul as well, like when you're on Tatooine and then towards the end of the game. So it's like there are very small snippets that are like, yeah, this is from the movie, and these locations are from the movie, but you go to places that you've never even seen in the films. It's like they expand on so much stuff. It's hardly even the movie itself, which, once again, for a lot of people, might not be too bad. I'm not one of the people that really hates the Phantom Menace or anything, but I love that game. It was just a really good action game. It was, you know, kind of a hack and slash, you know, Star Wars game, and I think it was done right. You know, naturally you can deflect blaster bolts, force push. I believe they had force run and stuff like that, because it was a little meter, I remember. But it was fun. It was a really fun game. The only thing that sucked, excuse me. The only thing that sucked about it was that you shared lives with whoever you were playing with, and my cousin sucked at that game. I never forgot that. The Tatooine level, we could never get past it playing together, because there's this one portion where you have to jump. I don't know why they made this. They just made it to make it difficult. But basically, all you do, because I don't think there are even any enemies, all you do is just jump from a bunch of, it's basically from pillar to pillar. And it's like, if you miss the pillar, you basically fall into a black pit and you instantly lose a life. So, he just, I don't know what the deal was. Maybe we should have been looking into some eyesight stuff in the past, but he could never land those jumps. And it was a pretty big thing. It would probably be like, I don't know, 10 or 15 across. It's just like a big random cavern, or chasm, I should say. And it's just random little pillars and tiny little circular platforms that you can land on. And even with the double jump, he couldn't find his positioning right. He was always falling, and we'd lose all our lives. It's like, this is why we can't beat the game together, because every time we get to Tatooine, it was the same story. It would be like, it's like the 3rd or 4th level in the whole game. We'd be flying through everything else. We get to a jumping portion with no enemies. He'd take all our lives, and then, of course, if I fail once, that's our last life, and then it's game over. But, excuse me, other than the fact that we shared lives, phenomenal game. I really loved that game, and it was really fun. I still have it, actually. But it was just a really fun game. You get to play as random Jedi, use force powers. You know, it's an interesting sort of twist on the Phantom Menace, because, like I said, you go through the locations, but you don't really do anything pertaining to the film. It's just like, yeah, it's Phantom Menace, but kind of, not really. And then I mentioned that there were secret characters as well that I found through cheat codes. That was actually Queen Amidala, the bodyguard that she had who never showed up again after that first movie. And the third character was my favorite, who of course was Darth Maul. So that was really cool when I found out I could play as Darth Maul. The only thing that sucked is that it wasn't both sides of the lightsaber. It was just, like, he had the whole lightsaber, but he'd only use one side of it. And I was like, that really blows, because they did that to make it easier for coding. But as a kid, I was just like, oh, that really sucks. Why doesn't he, why isn't he using both sides of the lightsaber and, having like different moves? But that would have been a lot. That would have been a lot for them to add. Although Queen Amidala and her bodyguard, they actually do have different moves because, of course, they don't have lightsabers. They just have guns. Like, they don't give them like special lightsabers. They actually give them the weapons they had in the film, which were just blasters. So, they have blasters and they can physically punch and kick the enemy, so which is very unique. So instead of being able to deflect blasts, you just have to dodge them and you can shoot back. So it's kind of a trade-off. Like, of course, with the Jedi, you have to kind of get up close or use, like the Force. But, you have to deflect blaster bolts and stuff like that in order to take down specific enemies. But with Amidala and her bodyguard, it was like, no, I'll just move to the left or move to the right, and then I'll just, shoot you, and that's pretty much it. So it was an interesting switch, because you're so used to being able to block and stuff like that. It's like, nope, you're just wide open. If you get shot, you get shot. There's no way to block it or deflect it or any of that. You just got to keep moving and keep shooting. So that I thought was pretty cool. It's like, that's interesting. It's, two new characters, and they bring a new challenge to the game. Darth Maul was kind of in line with the rest of the characters, so there wasn't really much different. I think he had... I think his special was like some sort of crazy force field type of thing. He would like drop a shield, a complete shield around him or something like that. But super fun game. I always remember playing that and just being so annoyed that my cousin couldn't make those freaking jumps all the time. Kept dying. But love that game. Much better than the actual Phantom Menace game that does fall in line with the movie. I think I still have that too, and that was on PlayStation. Also, man, the Phantom Menace game does not look nearly as good as the Jedi Power Battles game. I think that may have come out like a year later or something like that, but Jedi Power Battles looks a million times better than the actual, Star Wars Phantom Menace official game, of the movie type thing. So, there's that, but that old game, it doesn't really hold up too well. It was fun at the time when I had it, except for the Gungan level, which... kind of like the opposite of Jedi Power Battles, where they're like, there's nothing here, there's no action, let's skip over that. The Phantom Menace is like, there's no action here, let's expand on that. You go through all this random crap, and you're opening things, and you're talking to people, and it's basically like what they did in the movie to be like, hey, Jar Jar saved us, or I saved him, when Qui-Gon's talking to the Gungan King or whatever. It's like, hey, I saved him, he owes me what you call a life debt. That took a couple of minutes. And in the game, they're like, you know what? Why don't we expand this to where, instead of them all being in one location and the Gungan King is like, alright, just take them and they leave on the ship, why don't we have it where Jar Jar's taken away to the prison, you have to talk to the king, go talk to whoever is holding Jar Jar captive, tell him that the king said let him go, and then we walk all the way back to the ship and do a bunch of a little extra random crap in between. Why don't we do that? Plus a little puzzle in there. So... that was crazy. I remember I did that level one time, and I got to the end of the level, and I did something where I was at the end, and so Qui-Gon and Jar Jar got in the ship, and I like left out of the room, and I didn't know the door automatically closed because it was like a program sort of thing, and it closed, and I couldn't walk back in the room, and I was just looking at them. I'm like, they're just sitting in the ship waiting for me. And I can't get in this room. I just spent like... it felt like an hour. I mean, I was much younger, so I really don't remember how long it took me. But it felt like it took forever. And I had to start that whole level over. Because it's one of those older games where you don't get checkpoints. It's like you can save in between levels. And that's all there is to it. So there was that. I just remember that. But jumping ahead to some more modern stuff. It kind of dwindles off for me. There weren't a ton of Star Wars games where I was like, I really need to play this, or I really want that. I have, what the heck is that thing called? It's like the Jedi Outcast game. It's such a weird thing because it's like Star Wars Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast 2. I think that's exactly what it is. I have that on Xbox. I love that game. That's really fun. Never played the first one, but Kyle Katarn, he's pretty sweet. And then it's one of those weird games where I have the game, I never actually beat that game though. Like I always used cheat codes when I was playing it. I found out that I could use a cheat code to get the lightsaber early, and excuse me, um, that's like the coolest thing in the universe because in that game you can like chop people's arms off and stuff. And that was the first time I'd ever seen that in a Star Wars game, and I was like, holy crap, you can like chop people's heads off and chop their arms off, which is realistic because I knew what lightsabers were supposed to do, but you never saw that in Star Wars in general. And then I put that cheat code in, and you get the lightsaber from the beginning of the game. And I just went in, I just run in, slicing people off. I was like, holy crap, you can kill everybody in like one hit, which makes a lot of sense. You're supposed to, but it was super fun. And they did something very unique with that game, where if you like in the beginning of the game, and because I didn't know this, it's not only a first-person game. It starts off first-person because when you use guns or when you use blasters and grenades and stuff, it's all first-person. But when you switch to the lightsaber, it's third-person. And I thought that was so crazy because when I first did that cheat code, I was like, holy crap, I didn't even know this game had a third-person mode in it. I thought it was all a first-person thing. So I love that game, even though I never actually beat it. I just love skipping through the levels and having like unlimited ammo. I would throw, much like when I used to play James Bond, I would just throw trip mines all over the place, and they would just be lasers all over a bunch of rooms, and then I would just walk into them and blow them up because I had unlimited health. So I just run around being stupid like that, just throwing stuff all over the place, jump and throw a mine like way across the room or something stupid, and have the lightsaber and just chop a bunch of people up. I played the multiplayer component. I played by myself all the time because you could put, I mean, dang, I'm sure that game had it had to have had Xbox Live elements to it because you could put like almost 20 bots in a game, and I'd be playing by myself, and there would be like 19 other enemies in there, and I just put put them all on max and just make it free for all and just be going crazy. A bunch of characters with lightsabers running around. There are a million different costumes you could get. You could get Luke from the game itself because it's him. It's after Return of the Jedi. You could get him from the movies. You could get other characters. It was like a million different characters that you could play as, and they had 3 different styles. So you had your quick style, so you could fight really fast. They had the medium style, and then they had the strong style, which was slower attacks, but they were much more powerful. Yeah, force push, force pull, force lightning. Love that gave me my my infinite love for the force push because I used to play on this level. I wish I knew the names and everything, but I'd just be on a bridge and I'd be like, all right, a bunch of enemies coming at me. I would just spam the force push and just like push everybody or pull them towards me. If they were like across a gap, I'd just pull them right towards me and they would fall in the middle and stuff like that. And it was so fun. But I love that game, even though it's got a really weird place in my heart where it's like, I love the crap out of that game, but I never freaking played the story. Like, I just never beat it. I played through a couple levels, and I skipped through most of them because I had the cheat codes. I just was skipping through just to see what the levels were. I hardly even remember the story of that game. Yeah, I remember playing through the Jedi Temple, because there was a time where I was like, alright, I'm going to legitimately play through this game, and I'm pretty sure I never beat it. I may have, and I just don't remember, but all that stands out are like the first level where I just go in killing a bunch of stormtroopers. I think the second level you're like in a cantina and stuff, and that's where I was just throwing mines all over the place. There's another sort of facility type level, and that's all I remember. And then the Jedi Temple, and then all multiplayer after that, which most fun I've ever had on a multiplayer section with bots. Just playing by myself, I could do that for hours, and I would just play, and like I said, just throw in like 20 bots, and it was actually fun. Just running around, force pushing a bunch of characters, pulling them, hitting them with the force lightning, because you allocate points. But I actually love the game. That'd be sweet if they brought that back, and then just full on multiplayer, like we have today compared to back then when it was kind of rare. But love that game. And, like I said, getting into the modern stuff, there just wasn't much there for me. I have Star Wars Battlefront because of how I bought my PS4, but that's okay. It's not super epic. It's multiplayer only, which has never been that fun to me when games do that. They've added more stuff. I'm sure I'd have to pay for it because I got like the basic version of the game when I bought my PS4, so I'm sure I'd have to pay for all that stuff. Maybe I don't because I know the Jakku thing was free. That was a free update, so I'd have to look up the Rogue One stuff, which has come out. I think there's something where you can play as Greedo and I think they added Admiral Akbar. They added some characters and some new modes. I don't know if any of that stuff is free, but it's EA, so admittedly I kind of doubt it. But this sadly at this point there's not much. Nice Old Republic, it's going backwards. Enjoy that as well. I never got the second one. I played it, but I just never ended up buying it. And I know not a lot of people like that as much as the first one, but I got my couple of Star Wars games that I still remember. I still own all the Star Wars games that I've ever really loved. I've owned, except for of course the super expensive arcade. But that's my kind of expansive detail of the Star Wars games that I like, and just some crazy stories from my past. But like I said, I would love to know what your favorite Star Wars games are, or even your least favorite. If they're ones that you bought where you just thought it was going to be amazing and you just hated it. I don't know, maybe you bought like the Episode 3 video game. I did have that game as well. I just don't remember that much from it. Honestly, I just don't remember that much from it at all. All I remember is that you could use a bunch of different moves. Like, you could unlock cool looking moves. Like, they had like a cool spin attack that you could use. So that was pretty cool. The Episode 3 video game visually is pretty awesome, and playing through it, it literally was like, that was actually playing through Episode 3, which I think was fine, because that was like the crazy action one out of all the prequel films. So that one, you could kind of just play all the way through, and it made a lot of sense. Like, alright, yeah, just keep this, keep this. They even added a little bit of stuff. So that was actually an entertaining game. And you could also change the ending as well. Good ending, or true ending, and then alternate ending. So that was actually kind of cool too. But definitely want to know your favorite and least favorite Star Wars game. Some of your favorite experiences, or just funny experiences. If you have anything like with my cousin, where someone that you always played with was just a bad partner, and they just kept taking all your lives, or they just kept killing you by accident, or something crazy like that. I would love to know those stories. So please comment below, let me know, and of course, thanks for watching.